last 2 or 3 years, I've been telling the Tesla fanatics, he's got to get his act together quick because global competition is coming. This Audi e-tron is not a big surprise. We've known it was coming for the last 2.5 years. Mercedes is going to have one. BMW. Porsche is going to have a 4-door sedan with a 300-mile range. General Motors has announced 20 different electric vehicle models. And the thing about all of these is they can all be sold at a loss.
Thanks for joining us once again. Today's show focuses on, I want to call it the Tesla secret weapon. Why is it that Tesla has enjoyed the success it has had in electric vehicles thus far? And then as we look into the future, will it be able to retain that successful circumstance as we look into the future? And I think you'll be surprised as to why that's the case. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So in this show, we're sort of two segments. The first segment is reviewing what Tesla's competitive advantage is, and number two, reviewing where we go from here based on that competitive advantage. So I chose to open today's show with the HAL clip from Space Odyssey 2000. Why? That's the Tesla secret weapon, something called computing power. So kind of what does that mean? How everybody has computers. Is it that big a deal? Well, thus far, you've noticed that the head of VW was fired because their software wasn't working very well. And they built proprietary systems. And the CEO informed us that he was going to hire 6,000 programmers and simply provide a better software solution than Tesla was offering because it had brand new software that it created. Well, that's actually a really great idea. There's one little teeny weensy problem, and that is that whether it's Daimler-Benz or VW or any of the major makes, there is no CEO in the world except for Elon Musk that's not only the CEO of an major auto company, but he's also a world-class programmer. And so in this case, what we want to look at in general is Tesla's software solution relative to EVs. So absolutely, there have been a lot of electric vehicles produced by competitors, small and large, globally, and that gap has been closed a great deal. The one issue is if you type into your computer right now, major auto companies that run on Unix or Linux, sort of open source computing, and you'll find that there are others transitioning in small and large ways into it, but only Tesla has been running it from day one. So one of the huge advantages that Tesla has in this space is the fact that 40% of your spend on software builds is actually finding bugs. And when you're using open source systems to build out your vehicle, all the bugs or most of the bugs have already been found. So it cuts your production cost and time because you're not chasing all these bugs. One of my craziest experiences is I had a friend who owned a small VW SUV, and one of the strangest things that would happen is once maybe every 45 minutes of driving the car would actually just shut down. So you're driving along and all of a sudden there's no power because the software in the car just shut the vehicle down, and you had your foot on the gas, everything was moving fine, and it just stopped. So the mechanical components of these vehicles, particularly ICE, is excellent, but each of the manufacturers has had different challenges when it comes to managing the software side of their business. And I think VW is one of the greatest examples of that. part of the reason why their CEO was fired. So, yes, Tesla knows what it's doing when it comes to electric vehicles. Elon had some of the best people in the world focused on that part of the business. But as you may recall, when the shutdown occurred relative to COVID, all of a sudden there was a decision to shut down their orders for chips. And those chip orders started going to other entities. So once post-COVID happened, there are a large number of entities that all of a sudden had no chips with which to run their vehicles. So I attach the whole chip solution aspect of things to what we've discussed already in terms of the software. So you could call it the technology management side. So yes, Daimler and others are offering, 300-mile ranges. And they have vehicles that perform decently. But the challenge is that if it was just about having an electric vehicle, battery, etc., no problema. But Ford illustrates one of the big problems that's popped up, which is, as you may recall, Ford had a situation where there were at least 100 different systems that they had recruited. So the process for the major OEMs is about 25% is built in-house and the remainder is built out-of-house. So all those other systems were being built had their own computer systems. So you now had the problem of 100 different systems, all of which were built on different systems. And they are proprietary, so those organizations had done the R&D, and the major manufacturer basically didn't own the rights to the software that had been built by outsiders. So this whole problem is being worked out. However, in the meantime, we're in an interesting position where these folks have to build new systems, and they're still not using Linux, Unix, open source. And part of it is how much have they already invested in the systems that they have, and therefore they can't make the switch. So one of my favorite back and forth discussions has been about Bob Lutz and Linux, and his argument that there would be superior solutions offered times 100 to what Tesla does by all the major OEMs around the world. And so that sounded like it made sense because they had the people, they had the money to build, et cetera, et cetera. So what he was talking about was their ability to build a vehicle and having the money to do so, and in particular, offering electric vehicles. He didn't discuss the fact that, wait a second, would they, after this build, have the kind of vehicles that would be superior to the software and hardware systems offered by Tesla? What we've come to find out is the answer is no. That's why VW just spent $5 billion sort of buying into Rivian in order to get access to the software solutions that Rivian is running. That's a copy of what the 120 employees from Tesla brought with them from Tesla. So the answer, therefore, is, sorry, Bob, you are right that there could be 120 vehicles or models built by large OEMs that are global, but if they're not running open source Unix, Linux, there's a high likelihood that they may match up on the sort of electric vehicle battery size. But what if they don't match up when it comes to the software side? And so if you watch Tesla relative to AI and what's going on with NVIDIA right now, et cetera, by locating in Silicon Valley, there's a competitive advantage that Tesla gets, which is early access to the software and technology hardware solutions that other OEMs get access to years later. And time to market can actually influence your ability to implement these solutions. So sorry, Bob, you're right. There's no competitive advantage in theory to Tesla. However, those guys aren't running Linux and Unix, so I would argue there is indeed a software advantage, and it's my belief that this software advantage goes into the future with no difficulty, and hence one of the reasons why Tesla continues to do well, grows, and outpaces competitors is, yeah, they may catch up on batteries because they're buying from cattle in the same entities, but they're still behind on software. As the head of Daimler now Trucks once argued, we don't have to worry about Tesla and its semi because physics works the same in Germany as it does in Silicon Valley. It may be the case that the physics works the same, but the software doesn't if you're not running open source. Just ask the folks at Daimler as well as at VW and other competitors. So I want to thank you for taking time out to review this with us today. I thought this was kind of fun because it answers the question of how is Tesla continuing to outpace competitors when in fact they have had such an opportunity to look through what the company is doing. And the legacy software systems that these guys are running puts them at a competitive disadvantage to Tesla. At any rate, this ends our formal presentation on the sort of Bob Lutz battle with Tesla and why it has not been won by well-heeled large competitors thus far. In fact, CEOs being changed out and getting fired is the norm. Our health tip for today is, remember, 20 minutes a day walk on a daily basis along with 25 leg lifts per leg is what our doctors recommend health-wise. There's the encouragement to do not eat within 4 hours of going to bed, minimum 2 hours to let the food digest. Otherwise, it'll cause upper respiratory issues if you go to bed immediately. At any rate, I want to thank you once again for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, au revoir, lahit road, hoda hafez, tadajiche ni hao ma. In Jamaica, we say enough respect. Arrivederci, namaste. And we look forward to our next conversation. Have a great day, and bye for now.